there were things that happened with this letter and the coverage that were sort of mind blowing. I think journalism professors will look back at moments like this and kind of pull a WTF about this whole thing. Here's the chronology for this week. Ian Sams sends out that letter, I believe, on a Wednesday morning. Is that right? Is it Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, something like that?
I'm not going to
in the letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was certainly this week. Let's put it that way. There's no timestamp on the letter, but for sure it was this week. One of the lines in the letter says, "For years, Republicans have tried to muddy the waters by attracting media coverage of their allegations." And then he goes on, blah, 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 and he talks about what's wrong with the investigation. That same night, because I think it did come out Wednesday, 7:24 p.m. on Wednesday night, headline in the Washington Post. It's a column by Paul Kane. "McCarthy, struggling to govern, throws impeachment chum into the waters." So it's the same. Muddy waters, chum waters, right? Okay, so step 3, almost immediately after that, Sams retweets the article and says, "McCarthy, struggling to govern, throws impeachment chum into the waters. He quote, can never quite sufficiently appease his far-right flank." So this is Ian Sams planting a quote in the media, which dutifully repeats it in a headline in the Washington Post, which he then retweets as if it's news. And the whole thing's out in the open. That's the thing that's so amazing about it. Like in the Cheney episode, they didn't publicize it,
right?
The first part. Here we have the whole thing. We get to see the whole deal. It's crazy, isn't it?
It's a great way to quell conspiracy theories, to do your conspiracies right out in the open. Nobody needs to, do any dot connecting on this one. They drew us a picture. Here's the circle. Here's how it works. It's like those memes that show, arrows going around in a circle.
Right.
I tell you what to say. You say it. I quote you saying it. But then there's, Matt, another step which you picked out, which is then journalism professor praises.
Oh, my God. Ugh. That was another great one. Yeah, so I guess let's dig that one up. So they kept using the phrase "no evidence," without evidence in the letter, and this was picked up by a surprisingly large number of mainstream news organizations, including a wire service. The AP actually put "without evidence" in the headline, which you can be dismissive of the evidence, but you can't say there's no evidence in this case, right? You can be unconvinced by it. This is the same error that Philip Bump made in his conversation with Noam Dworman. Like, eventually he concedes, okay, that is it's evidence, right? After saying, "I'll show that there was none." So this ends up in headlines. Vanity Fair immediately that same day puts out a headline. Kevin McCarthy, this is a tweet headline actually, but Kevin McCarthy is ordering House committees to open an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden, despite Republicans having uncovered no evidence of wrongdoing by the president. Jay Rosen, NYU journalism professor, who I'm embarrassed to say I used to think was a sharp guy, but he grabs this tweet and writes, "See, it's not that hard. You don't have to wait until the 14th paragraph to introduce the information that there's no evidence to support an impeachment inquiry. You can even begin there. After all, it's newsworthy that the Republicans would attempt it on such grounds." So he's saying that not only should you say there's no evidence, but you should cover the story as if the story was the bogosity of the Republican attempts. This is mind-blowing.
It's tantamount to a suggestion that you don't need the story. You just need the headline.
Right.